Hey there, YouTube. This is Ghost Jake here. I'm here to review The Witcher episode 7 of the Netflix series. So let's get started. Now, this episode was pretty good, and like I had like this episode was really tricky for taking notes for because this episode was kind of flashback heavy, like from like the going back to like episode 1. So anyway, let's get started. How this opens, it opens with Ciri walking into this town, and walking in this town, looking to like buy something, or just trying to get to Skellige or wherever, or was looking for Geralt, right? And now, here's where it kind of gets confusing a little bit. Like we see Geralt on top of a mountain, and he sees like a Nilfgaard army, coming into, just Nilfgaard. So he goes and he tells Nilfgaard, and then he goes somewhere and he meets Mousesack. But is this the Mousesack, the real one, or the Doppler Mousesack? And it turns out I think this one's the real one, even though the real one's dead. So here's where it gets kind of confusing, right? And Geralt also is looking for Ciri, the Child of Surprise, right? And then in this episode, Geralt finally gets him when he meets Ciri after he sees Queen Calanthe, right? And now here is the interesting thing, right? Here's the interesting thing. He meets Ciri, like in the palace of, where in Cintra, and then he meets another Ciri. Then we also see Ciri in the thing. So I was like, what is going on, right? And so I think that's when some of the flashbacks actually started. Then Yen. Now we get to see Yen. Right? Oh, I forgot one thing before we go to Yennefer. Like, they trapped Geralt. Like, they told him to pretty much leave, and they trapped him. Okay, now Yen is sent to a desert. So we're back to the present, right? Because Yen is still the Yennefer we know. After she already gone the transformation, right? And she is and she meets the person. I forgot his name. I think his name was like Istrambol. It's something. But she meets the person. Like in episode 2, when she first transported into the Tower of Gaul, and she meets that guy, she meets him, and then Yen meets Vigorforts, and Yen ends up going back to Artusa. And while Yen isn't having Artusa, she is having flashbacks of how she was there. Right? Yeah, when she was there. And then Yen also starts telling the current students of Artusa, like, the secrets are all about starts telling them the secrets of Artusa and everything she endured and everything there, right? And yes, so and right now, Geralt is in prison, but there was an interesting thing though. That was kind of interesting because Geralt, it was like before he got sent, to jail, prison. An interesting thing was this after he met Siri, right? He went through these doors, and she saw Siri playing with those friends from episode 1, right? Okay, now back at Artusa, there's a meeting, like after Yen was telling people, and the secrets and of the other students, the secrets of Artusa. Like I said, Yen takes him to the eel pond. Remember when Yennefer put her friends in the eel pond, right? And then that's what she did. There's also a meeting of the mages happening. Now the mages are trying to figure out whether or not if they should fight Nilfgaard yet because of the invasion, right? That is happening. And Fringilla pretty much comes in, and Fringilla tells them, no. Like, Nilfgaard's only enemy is Cintra, so, like, it looks like a lot of this series was in the past, and, like, little with flashbacks so far, because, but it also figures out that, and she also says, Fringilla also tells you that at this point in time, episode 7, that Ymir is the king of Nilfgaard, or the emperor of Nilfgaard. You know, the guy who hired you to find Ciri in The Witcher 3, the king of Nilfgaard. He is actually the king in this point in time in the series. So, and then it looks like and then I said this looks kind of. Then that's when I said this is flashback heavy in my notes, because it is because it's right back. When I figured that out, at first I thought it was something in the books, because I didn't read the books. I've only played the games. Then I figured out if this was, flashback heavy episode, because we were back at the start of the attack when Nilfgaard was attacking Cintra, and right, and how Queen Calanthea got injured, and then Geralt of Rivia, what was interesting, we thought they did it in a way where Geralt was just gone, right? But in this episode, we actually see him. In episode 1, he was just gone, but we actually see him in this episode escape Cintra's castle and killing the Nilfgaard, killing the Nilfgaard soldiers, and then we once again hear Queen Calanthea say to Ciri, you need to find Geralt of Rivia. He's your destiny. We hear her say that again, and so it looks like. And then we see, Geralt escape, and then we see Mousak come back in and tell Queen Calanthea that, Geralt's gone. So he escaped, right? And then that's when they need to go back to look for him. Now the real Ciri, not it is the real Ciri, but the non-flashback Ciri, should I say, is Excuse me again. Good gosh, I don't know why I'm yawning so much. I got plenty of sleep last night. But the the non-flashback series, stole a horse and then she made camp somewhere, and she made camp somewhere, which is nice. But here is and then she gets attacked by these Centrons, right? And it turns out the people that attacked her were her friends, or the people who she thought were her friends in episode 1. But you can see that they became greedy, though, because, like, Nilfgaard, Ymir, and Fringilla were apparently offering a bunch of money, to anyone who can bring Ciri in or find Ciri. And so what's ended up happening is her friends end up grabbing Ciri, and they take her to they start to take her somewhere. Then all of a sudden, Ciri uses some sort of magic, right? And she uses some sort of magic, and she is. But here is something interesting. Why, right? Now, while she's using this magic, she goes like really deeply into it. What I mean by deeply into it is because it's like something or someone is talking through her. Now, we know in The Witcher 3 that the Wild Hunt is looking for Ciri. Now, in this instance, when something was probably maybe talking through Ciri, was that someone from the Wild Hunt? Or was that someone completely different? Just someone completely different altogether. We do not know exactly on how this we don't know exactly how this what's going on yet, but it's so far interesting. And that is pretty much where the episode ends. I know I didn't take a lot of notes for this episode. I'm sorry about that, guys, but with this episode, it was a good episode. But it was pretty much flashback heavy, like I said. And so I said a lot of the original notes are back in my episode 1 review for this episode, it turns out. So that's kind of the weird thing about this episode, is like a lot of my original notes for this episode are in my episode 1 review. But yeah, so that is the interesting thing. But yeah, so far the Witcher Netflix series is very good. Episode 8 will be coming tomorrow, and then after episode 8, since episode 8 is the final season, I'm gonna do my thoughts on the season. Then I think we're gonna be done until I find something new to review for you guys for a while. But not for a while, but you know what I mean. Until I find a new show is all I'm saying. But yeah, this, like I said, this episode was really good. And we can't wait to see what the series finale, the season finale brings, because there's probably going to be season 2 of the show now that now that I'm on episode 7. Well, hopefully season 2 comes out pretty soon, because this is a really good series so far. Well, guys, sorry if this review wasn't as good as my other ones. Episode 8 should be much better. This one was just a weird coincidence how a lot of the notes I would have taken I already did for episode 1. Anyway, this is Ghost Jake signing out. See you tomorrow for episode 8. Bye.